3 shots, 4 par, I just do 2. 1 putt, par 4, birdie, woohoo. New driver, info, replace, M2, par 5, fairway, what you fin do? Think I'll try to get on into. Start right, good line, good view, it drew. Shooter McGavin, 2 thumbs. That's
pretty wild, man. I was like looking through it today, grabbing a couple things, and I saw like one of the reels almost 60 million. Like,
right? Yeah.
Like,
so,
what do you just shut off notifications or just throw your phone somewhere for the day when that starts to happen?
the funny thing is I actually just recently shut off notifications. I like to kind of stay in touch with it, and know what's going on with with the business analytics and everything that you get from Instagram. That's one thing, but to actually see the time of the day that you're getting the notifications, I was getting social media geeky, but yeah, just to see the time of the day that the notifications are coming in, that's pretty beneficial. But just over the holidays there, definitely had to turn the notifications off. The girlfriend was kind of getting annoyed with how often
well, because
they were
like
ringing up.
We've posted like a couple, Brycer and I, and there's like, I think one that Bryce had like 500,000 or something, somewhere in that range, like just of him like just ripping one into the woods. And for whatever reason, my phone, I just had to like, I was just like, man, this is a lot. So when I saw those, that's kind of going through, and then I saw the one, it was like 59 million. Is that the most?
Yeah, that's definitely the one that I've got the most views on. I've got a couple of recent ones now that are peaking over 20 mil now.
Yeah.
So I'm not I'm not unfamiliar to getting in the millions, but 60 million, close to 60 million, man, that's wild.
That is crazy.
That's wild.
So we just kind of fire it up and get rolling here, if that's cool with you, Casey.
That's fine, man. I'm ready to shoot the shit.
All right. We episode 119, Casey, from the Real Turf Cruise. So the most, I'll dub it as the most satisfying page in Instagram golf. I think a lot of people, we were just saying 60 million people agree with that. But yeah, I figured I've been following the page forever, and I thought like every time you like post something, it just kind of, I'm sitting there like watching it, and then it's like it goes through the 2 times or whatever, and then I gotta like restart it so I can watch the reel again 2 times. It's just like, it's crazy, man. But like, you would think that it's just a regular everyday thing for us golfers, but it's like truly the most satisfying thing to watch, like watching the edge of a bunker get cut, or like watching a hole get cut or something like that, man. So it's kind of cool. It's fascinating, but maybe you can just like give us an intro, Casey, who you are, kind of maybe a little bit about yourself. Doesn't always have to be golf related. So if you're like really into something else, feel free to talk about that. We just kind of let the conversation roll, man.
Yeah. So at this point, I'm not into anything else. I'm diehard golf, just dedicated, and it's not even like I'm into golf. Like I'm a player for sure. I'm a 2 handicap, but my passion definitely lies in the turf side of things. And to be fully transparent, this is kind of relevantly new for me. I've only been in the industry for 7 years now. There's guys out there like 7 years is nothing. Like you're not even getting a taste of what there is to learn in this industry with 7 years. So I've kind of used this page to catapult me and to give me access to some of the brightest minds in the industry. If you want to deep dive into it, the way I kind of got started with it, well, I started as a site supervisor for my old man's like commercial development company.
Okay.
We did car dealerships and hotels. I thought that's what I wanted to do. I love construction. I love kind of transforming something into what it can be, and really like taking advantage of the potential that something might have. Unfortunately, my old man, he passed away when I was 19. So I kind of had to take over his company. It was kind of thrown on me pretty quick. Didn't realize how much stress. He passed away of a heart attack, which I realized like it was kind of self-explained to me. In the following 3 years that I closed up 5 of the projects we were working on there. And I realized quickly, man, like, holy hell, that's a industry, the construction industry, especially the commercial side of things. It is stressful. And as a 19-year-old, I had no business taking that on.
Yeah.
So I finished up those jobs just kind of out of pride for them, and kind of just to finish something up for me. And then applied to school to go, like I wanted to be like I love golf ever since I was a kid. And I applied to school up at Georgian College in Barrie. I'm in Ontario. I'm sure you're in Ontario as well, right?
Yeah. So
So
good.
yeah, I went up to
Brycer's down in Michigan now, but he actually I think he worked at Cherry Downs for a period of time. So I don't know if you know Cherry Downs, but it's in
yeah, I do. Yeah,
the
so
Greater Toronto area.
one of the superintendents I've worked for actually has been a superintendent at Cherry Downs. He's
Yeah,
got,
so they're well known for their greens, man. So it's
they're fantastic.
yeah, so it's kind of always something that pops up on the pod when we're talking about kind of some of the nastiest greens we played. I play at Port Hope, so it's we're not getting away from them, man. We're in trouble. He kind of grew up in trouble and he can't putt, and that's one of the things we joke about is like it's probably just because he was at Cherry and now I'm at Port Hope. Luckily I can roll it pretty well, but it's tough, man. Those courses will beat you up, but
no, yeah, we're lucky in Ontario, that's for sure. We do have
yeah.
some really good greens up here, and we're able to kind of produce some good quality product for the golfers. But yeah, so what I was saying was like I went up there for a golf management degree program, which is essentially it was a 4-year degree program then. I think they've diluted it down to a 2-year kind of diploma now. But the whole process of that, I wanted to be a director in golf. I thought I could be a head pro somewhere, and I thought that was the life. I was young and kind of just, I guess I kind of had that 70s look on it, where like back in the day when those golf pros were just kind of hanging around with all the ladies and and giving lessons to whoever they wanted to and cashing in and going and playing golf. And then I quickly learned that that's not the case nowadays. Those guys have a pretty tedious job, man. And like they actually, like the pros I've worked around, they've played less golf than my superintendents.
Yeah.
Like they don't play much golf, man. They dedicate a lot of hours, and as much as some guys might want to say like the head pro, all he does is play golf. Not from my experience, man. That guy doesn't get many opportunities to go out there. So I was given we were kind of given a layout where it was like the first year we did a turf program, like it was co-op based, so we did turf co-op. Second year we were supposed to do a food and beverage. Third summer we were going to do a pro shop kind of all over co-op. And I did my first year co-op, and in the turf department, man, and I fell in love. I was like, holy hell, I can blend my love for construction with my love for golf. And I was like, this is the end of it, man.
Yeah,
this is the end of it. And luckily I was working with some guys that and like I was able to see, it's like, I guess as a kid, man, like, and you might be able to relate to this, as a kid playing on these golf courses. I was members and stuff, and I grew up seeing the superintendent as kind of like a bit of a dirty job, like as if it was like a secondary. You didn't need to, like, if you ran out of options, you could always be the superintendent at your local golf course. And I'm ashamed now looking back, but that's how I kind of seen it as a kid. I was like, oh wow, that guy's just a superintendent, not knowing that guy's actually making $90,000 to $110,000 a year. He might look scrubby, and he gets to play golf every day at 3:30 in the afternoon. I never seen that. I just kind of seen him as a scrubby. So it was never appealing to me as a kid, and when I seen that in co-op, I was like, I just took off on it, man, and I convinced the school that I didn't have to do food and beverage, didn't have to do pro shop co-op, and I just dedicated myself from that first year on to turf. And
so they kind of like when you were doing your degree, they kind of like let you roll with it. Is this similar to like what PGM would be now, like pro golf management for anybody like in the Canadian like college system? Is it similar to that, or it's a bit deeper?
So I don't want to say it is, because I've heard those are pretty strict on what you need to kind of check off on the boxes. So I don't want to say it is. This program, it was called a BAGM, so it was a Bachelor's of Administration in Golf Management. And I don't want to, by any means, it was not easy convincing these guys to give me my credits in the following 2 terms when I wasn't doing food and beverage and pro shop, it was very strict in their policies that that's what I needed to do in order to attain these credits. But I explained to them, like, you guys are going to force me to drift away from the career path I know that I'm going to take.
Yeah.
For what reason? I'm going to waste experience in these 2 summers doing serving people food and drinks in the back shop or in whatever, and then doing back shop shifts and doing pro shop shifts. It's a waste of my time when I can be learning under some of the most talented guys in the industry, in the turf industry. And
Yeah.
I knew, right? Like, dude, I knew in my first week that this industry was just perfect for me. I fell in love, man. And that's the whole goal of my page and for fellow pages like mine. Like, we just want to show people, like, yeah, this industry is awesome, man. And if you love golf, being a pro is pretty difficult, dude. So if you love golf and you want to surround yourself with golf and you want to make some good money, and in some instances you can get winners off. So it's a good career, and like I just want to kind of show that to people, man. That's my goal.
So, like, what do you typically do? Like, so if you're like, I don't know if you connect with like a lot of like junior golfers and stuff right now at the course. So if you got somebody who's kind of interested in it when they come in, kind of work at the shop, a lot of the past, like we typically every third week or so we have like a PGA Tour Canada or Epsom Pro, one of the ladies on, or one of the pros in PGA Tour Canada, NCAA players, like they've all worked at a course or something, right? And that's kind of how they got into golf. That's how they started playing a lot of golf. So if you ever have any like younger, men or ladies, boys or girls coming up to you kind of talking about it, do you have like a way that you sort of kind of get them set up to get into this field? Because it seems like it's almost accessible only, like from what you're saying, Casey, is kind of like when you go to school, you'd have to like pick up on that, like that turf interaction, so to speak, and like fall in love with that aspect of it and then kind of find your way from there.
Yeah, so that's the funny thing is, like, you by me telling you my story is, yeah, you would think so, right? But that's just how I found it.
Right.
I still started as a bottom line greenskeeper, like a kid that could have just came out of high school and dropped his application off at a golf course because his parents said, you have to apply to 6 jobs this weekend or else I'm not paying your cell phone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the equivalent to that kid when I applied for that co-op position, man. So like, you don't need anything to get into the industry. You just need the interest in it, man.
Right.
You just need the ambition. You need some hard work. You need the work ethic, because it's not easy out there.
Well, and it's getting up
means.
like a lot of times too. You're up early, right? So like, I'm an early golfer, and I see like Jeff out at the course here at Port Hope. He's out there with his dog Bauer all the time, and they're out. Like we're starting at 6:30 a.m. if we can. Where I think we're 6:26 where we are, and then they're out kind of a couple holes in front of us, kind of getting all the pins in, getting the sprinklers going, whatever it is, and it's early, man. It's an early start, and then sometimes like I'll if I'm free to go back out and play an emergency 9 or another secondary 18 or whatever it may be, like I might see him kind of wrapping up at the end of the day. He doesn't play a ton of golf. I was lucky enough to play around with him, but it's funny you say that too, because like the GM at our course, he's just kind of over golf, right? Just kind of around it all the time. He doesn't golf that much. He plays in like our club C, and that's about it. But it's kind of just one of those things where if you are truly like in love with it, and maybe there's something to that like pro lifestyle of having to like swing a club all day or kind of teach it, that you don't want to go out there and swing it for yourself. But if you're putting a lot of pride into, building the course, taking care of it, keeping it up, you might want to go out and shoot a little bit more, right? It might be more encouraging to go do that and take advantage of like what you've built or what you're kind of building, right? So it's
dude, as a cup setter, you're out there setting pins one day. I can't tell you. Like, there's been mornings I've woken up and been like, there's not a chance I'm golfing today, and found out that I'm setting pins, and I'll go out there and set just the most delicate, just beautiful layout out there, because you literally, as a pin setter, you get to decide how that golf course plays. An architect back in the day laid it out, but you get to decide how it played, because most courses, the guy who's setting the pins sets the tees. So I get to decide where you're teeing off from, what your yardage is. I get to decide the difficulty of your approach shot. And man, there's been so many mornings where I've woken up and been like, I'm not playing golf today. And then I step pins, and by the seventh hole, I'm like calling the pro shop, like, is there any openings up at like 2:30 when I'm off? Like, I gotta play some
I
golf
love
today.
that, man.
So
I love that. And like I was thinking too, as we were kind of chatting, I like saw a couple things pop up for the Waste Management. I thought about all the videos last year, like kind of leading up to that, and one of them was on hole number 12, or is it 16? Or 16, and
16.
yeah, so there was a guy out there, and it's just like the only time it was silent is a guy like setting the pin, drops the cup in, and then like picks up his like just like his toolbox or whatever you want to call it, and then everybody just started cheering. Man, it was like the coolest reel ever. I gotta like go back and try and find it, but it like is
No,
that
I've got a couple of them posted on my page if you want to find them real quick. One was posted just a couple days ago.
yeah,
But
it's so good,
yeah,
man.
man, that
Is
was
that the most
iconic. And like,
satisfying piece for you, Casey? Like setting the pins?
man, that's tough. It's a tough call.
Man, it's the best. I can tell you like actually love this. Like it's so great. Like I could tell like
Yeah,
this
it's pretty
yeah.
fun, man. And coming from somebody who's like literally like I've honestly like I dedicated myself to the construction industry and thought that's what I wanted to do, man. And like just 7 years later, being this in love with something, and like you said, these early mornings, man, being able to wake up in these early mornings and actually like taking like being excited,
Yeah.
it's awesome. But back to your question, it's tough to decide what your favorite part is when you can like when you start mowing nice straight lasers. That's a tough one, man. And like when you're cutting fairways, and
Yeah.
whether it's a nice shaped cut, or whether you're doing a shadow cut, which is where you've got the dark on the one side and the light on the other side. Like whichever way you're doing, cutting is fun, man. When you're out there mowing, you look back at your work, and that's one thing I tell my guys to, and then it was nice that they picked up on it. It's like you're not actually taking pride in your work, and you're not really a greenskeeper. You're just an employee or a landscaper, unless you drive away and look back and give that
Yeah.
little check back, like, ooh, damn,
Yeah.
look at those lines.
All
So
right.
yeah, it's tough, man. When from a player's aspect, pin setting for sure, because
Okay.
I get to control how that golf course plays. But as a turf lover, I gotta say the most satisfying thing is cutting some grass.
All right, so I got a couple of questions. So I'm thinking here of like, you know, you're watching a Jays game or they're like in San Francisco or something like that. You get that drone shot and it's got all like the checkered grass or like it's got the designs like with the Diamondbacks are always doing that and stuff like that. So
Yep.
that would essentially be like what a shadow cut is.
No, so I call that diamond cut.
Okay. All right.
There's a
So
bunch of names for
I
it,
know
but
a
I
little
call
something.
that
Yeah.
diamond cut. In order to achieve that diamond cut, you essentially just cut stripes,
Okay.
and then like right after cut stripes on a 45 from that,
Yeah.
and it'll give you that diamond look.
And then you got to like
Golf
leave
courses,
that gap,
you
I
don't
guess.
often see
Yeah.
it on golf. Yeah, so you don't often see it on golf courses because like that's a lot of man hours for us to double cut
Right.
a fairway.
Yeah.
And when we double cut greens, we don't want that checkered pattern because it's just visually not appealing.
Right.
When we double cut greens, we go back and forth over our same lines, or we can make it a consistent one solid pattern where we get it going in the same direction the whole way.
Yeah.
Which they do at the Masters, right? So that when you land your ball in, the grains all kind of pointed the same way. When you land your ball in, it allows for the ball to reciprocate backwards. Same with when they're hitting their drives out there at the Masters. All that grass, you see the flying V pattern mowers. So they're all cutting in the same direction to make the grass grow this way. And when your ball lands, it doesn't allow it to roll out as far. People are conquering, like these guys are conquering the PGA, the Masters, like at Augusta, they're conquering that course every year. So the slightest thing that they can do to dial up back the yardages that they gain, and like the mowing techniques that they use at the Masters, I can't wait to get out there. I will be using everything I can to be getting out there, but
that's wild, man.
I've
never heard of anything like that. So like I play golf my whole life and we're on the course all the time, like play as many rounds a year as I can, but that's something that I've never heard. Like I've never actually heard like the science that kind of goes into it to say, okay, like the courses are getting a little bit I love that,
So
man.
like I'll give you an example. Like there's so that's another thing that I kind of, and I want to get that out there, is like that I pride myself on with my brand here, is the turf industry can get really intimidating. Like there's a lot of science and a lot of nerdy, I don't yeah, I'm gonna say nerdy
Yeah.
shit that can go on in the industry, and it can get intimidating, and people can feel like they need a PhD in order to accomplish anything. But my approach is kind of showing them that you don't. There's resources out there in this industry that allow you to get there. The grass thing you learn pretty quickly, but just as an example to relate to you there, we've got one green at my golf course that's kind of downhill, and it's mounded. It's like a turtle's back,
Okay.
and anything you land on that green rolls off the back solid. So one thing I did was I just upped the height of cut on that green, and every time we cut it towards the fairway so that the grass just, we do have to switch it up every now and then, or else you're going to create some wilting, but you kind of just force it to grow that way. And anytime those balls land in there, it holds them up a little bit more and prevents them from rolling off the back of the green. That's just like a simple,
Yeah.
like MacGyver almost hack to accomplishing playability for your members, right? And there's so many things that you can do, and that's why I love this industry so much, man.
Yeah, man. See, Corey, Sean, these guys aren't all assholes, man. They're trying to help us out, man. They're trying to like, because like we got a couple spots. So I don't know if you're familiar with our tracker at Port Hope. So it's like the fifth or sixth oldest course in Canada, man. It's so old, 1893, I think. So it's back there, and you can tell a couple of the original greens were kind of built back in the day when things were a little bit longer, right? Greens were grass was a little fuzzier and stuff like that. So it's
Yep.
some of them can get pretty nasty. Like middle of the summer, trying to hold a green can be pretty tough. So I know it's a short course. I think it's 64 and change, 65. But like we had a Toronto Players Tour event out there. There's one guy under par. Like I've driven probably 4 or 5 of the greens, and I remember the first one I drove like number 10 and made par. I 4-putted on a green that I've driven on number 15. So it's tough, man. Like it's tough, and I roll it pretty well. So it can be a little tricky depending on where the pin is and whatnot. So it's kind of one of those things where you're like, man, like was Jeff having just a morning here and he kind of set us up this way, or I like they want to have some fun with it too, right? Like we have like some of those events where they'll kind of throw them in like crazy spots, and I know I don't know if you're familiar with Copetown Woods out by like Hamilton there, really really beautiful track, and I know they do Super Pete, the guy's named Super Pete, and they kind of do like an event where they stick like the pins like right over by like the corner or something like that, or it'll be like right in between that and a bunker or something. It'll be like really nasty, and it's kind of fun to go play those events too, right? But it's nice to hear that you guys are thinking about the golfers and kind of trying to protect us out there, because there's a stigma out there saying you guys are beating us up when you're out there first thing in the morning, but you can tell it's like a deep passion, Casey. Like you can tell like you are truly like in love with the game and like trying to kind of connect with it and think about the golfer's experience, right? Because it's for like you and your team and stuff like that. There's like a lot of pride that would have to go into it, man. Like you say, you want to like kind of look back and check out the cool, like check out your work behind you, right? And like that's how that's sweet, man. So is that kind of like what got you to build the page? Like I wanted to ask you that. So the page is like successful, I guess, if you call that, in an Instagram world, right? You guys got a ton of followers. You guys have, like we were saying, a couple reels with like nearly 60 million views, a bunch of them over 1 million views. So people are obviously really liking it. It kind of floats out everywhere. I see people reposting, resharing things. I know you're doing the same. So was it something where you were just trying to like bring more awareness to kind of like what you guys are doing? Like what I don't know. I gotta find like a really like cool name for you guys, because it's not just a greenskeeper. It's not just like a super or anything like that. You guys are doing God's work out here on these courses, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, so that's where like I like to put the twist on it, but like I know we're often referred to as the Turf Crew, but that's where I kind of came up with the real Turf Crew. Was to kind of give us a name to separate us from the kind of old school view of greenskeepers, where it was either like that wasn't an ideal career path or superintendent of a golf course where it's like that's just too intimidating of a career path with the
Right.
science and everything that you need to know behind the agronomy. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to kind of meet in the middle. I know crew is like bringing everybody together. I knew I wanted to develop a community, but looking way back, man, when I was in construction, I was an Instagram follower. Like I was that shadow guy that like never posted anything on my personal account.
Right.
Like people would see something from me every 6 months on my personal account, but I'm watching everything and I'm following my favorite brands. I'm following my favorite companies just to see what's going on. And I felt like it was kind of a good way to immerse myself in it. And in construction, there's so many Instagram pages out there that I could follow and get ideas from. And when I got into turf, I started looking for that and there was nothing, man. Came up empty. And so like I'm in school for business at the time. And in business it teaches you like you need to find a niche. If you're going to start a business, you need to find a niche.
Right.
And the whole time I'm learning about the niche before I started this and everything, I'm like, there's no more niches out there. Like, what are you talking about? A niche? Like everybody has done everything twice. Like there's no niches left out there. But then I started this, fell in love with it. And I think it was in my second year as a greenskeeper that I like really started to get frustrated with it and started to post a few pictures to my personal page. And then I had some buddies from high school reach out to me and they're like, man, what do you think? You're some kind of photographer now? And I'm like, fuck. All right, I'm gonna make a fucking other Instagram page. Sorry for swearing, but I'm gonna
It's all
make
good,
another
man.
Instagram page here, and it's so that these guys don't like see it on my personal page all the
Yeah.
time. And I already had the idea of the turf crew, but there was already somebody that took the turf crew on Instagram, so I switched her up to the real turf crew. And honestly, man, I just like I started out first by like I wanted to lean into it by showing appreciation to the PGA Tour crews out there. Like those guys are amazing, man. Like it's like I don't know if you understand what's going on there, but it's like at those events for the PGA Tour, man, it's like their base core of guys are like 20 to 25 guys, and that might even be highballing it. And then they bring in like 75 to sometimes 100 volunteers to get it done. And they're still calling on pretty much the same superintendents and assistant superintendents to organize that and how it's pulled off. So like that that shit's magical what they do for the PGA Tour and all those other professional events. So yeah, I wanted to show homage to them, and yeah, man, it was like I think I was 10 posts in, and I just started blowing up. I started getting follower after follower, um, yeah, it blew up a lot quicker than I thought it was going to, man. I honestly was just kind of using it as a hobby,
Yeah.
and then I realized, like, man, this you can actually build a community out of this. You can
Yeah.
highlight how amazing this industry is. This is an opportunity to kind of to showcase this opportunity for everybody, and let's see if we can make it roll. And I've dove into it. I've had a few people work with me since then, but like that's the thing with it is like it's tough to get people interested long term,
Yeah.
man. It's tough, unfortunately, to say that. Guys, I guess, drift off and they don't seem to think that the opportunities are there. But I'll tell you right now, I'm working and I'm speaking to some of the biggest names in the industry right now, and I've got some pretty big plans for this year.
So would you
It's gonna
attribute a
be
lot of that,
busy.
Casey, to like the use of social media and being able to kind of connect with people? Because like we said, we're
Oh,
up here, we're in the Toronto area, like and so
yeah.
like we're gonna probably talk a little bit about the off season, that kind of stuff, like things you might do in the off season. But are you using social media to connect with a lot of other people? You think it's just like you've been able to just from traveling around other courses?
No, 100% social media is
Yeah.
like it's the it's the cornerstone to everything here, man. Like I so like I'm running to be I'm an assistant superintendent right now.
Right.
But my superintendent's kind of on his way out, so I'm running most of the crew. but it's 7 years in, man. Like that's pretty fast, and I
Right.
can only account that to anything other than the people I've met on this like through my social media page. Like there's so many guys, and I'm not shy. I reach out, I ask questions. I although I might have a page with 30 plus thousand followers or whatever, I'm not pretending to know everything. And I don't think there's anybody, and that's the cool thing about this industry. I don't think there's anybody in this industry that pretends to know everything. So asking questions is not frowned upon at all. I ask questions all the time, and I've learned so much from the people that I've been able to connect with on through this page.
Mac here from Manscaped. Let's take a quick break from the pod. I'm a beard guy. I got a big beard, so I am happy to introduce the Beard Hedger from our friends over at Manscaped. With 20 different lengths, you can look good from the cart path to the clubhouse. Shop manscaped.com using the promo code OTSGolf for 20% off plus free shipping. Manscaped.com using the promo code OTSGolf, 20% off plus free shipping. Enjoy the back nine.
I know you mentioned like the craziest things I've found on the golf course or whatever, and honestly, man, and it's like wasn't even within 2 weeks of me starting at my first golf course that I found a used condom on the golf course.
Okay.
Right by the halfway hut, just a used condom, and I'm still like I'm experienced, like I'm a partier or whatever. Like I did my shit in college, and I still found that to just be absolutely wild, right out in the open. There's no shelter for them to be doing whatever they were doing, but there's just like a fully used condom on the ground. So that's probably the most disgusting thing I've seen. I don't know if that's gonna make it into the clip or not because that's a little vulgar.
It's pretty hard to believe, man. It's like, first of all, yeah, just one of those things. Like, yeah, if that's your thing, you're out there, kind of, hats off to you, or hats on, I guess. But if that's your thing, man, it's like just find the waste bin, find whatever it is, throw it out. But
yeah, don't leave it in the bunker, man. Like. And that's the other thing is when we called it into my superintendent, we were like, "Hey, man, we just found a condom in the greenside bunker on 8." He's like, "There isn't any ass prints in that bunker, is there?" Thankfully, fuck, there wasn't. But
I like it, man. Hey, it's kind of one of those things where, like, no matter what, you're gonna find some of the weirdest shit. Like, it's just like. It's
you don't expect to find anything out there other than golf clubs or head covers, and you just want to bring those back to the pro shop. But
you ever find any Scotties or anything like that? I know
all the time, man.
I saw
so like at my first course all the time. But there's like just like golf in its name, man. You got to have that honor system, and
yeah, man.
I pity anybody that doesn't return that Scotty or that putt or anything, even the head cover, man. You return that to the pro shop, man. You're not bagging that shit.
Yeah, it's kind of. I found enough stuff like on the course, and I'm a big believer in like the karma of the golf gods, man. Like I've got one of the coolest stories, and I've told it so many times on the pod. Like I had my little guy's like 3 months old at the time. I made a hole in one, and he was out on the course with me.
Okay, well that changes our relationship already, dude.
Yeah, it's like
he's how old?
He was like 3 months. He was not playing. I was just out there pushing him around like a degenerate father, had him in the stroller, and I made an ace, and it was great because like I had a couple others with me, but he could witness that, and it was like it's kind of like one of those like really cool stories that I'll have forever. But I feel like I must have done something good on the golf course, or I must have done something good along the way to be able to have that experience, right? Because like, yeah, man, you can like I've seen people like take a chunk out of the green and stuff like that, and you just think like. I don't know that their game. They're never gonna get to experience anything like that, man. The golf gods are true.
Well,
you
simply just don't appreciate it as much as you should.
Yeah. So anything that you've you've seen out there, anything else that you found that you that like remembers any that you can remember any like clubs?
Like,
are
we trying to keep it PG? Because
it's okay, man. I'm good with it. You go with you go with it. You go with it.
All right, so. The one course I started working at there, we had some high-end members, and one of them was an former NHL player.
Okay.
Played for probably 17 of the 30 NHL teams at the time, so you can imagine what kind of guy he was.
Okay, yeah.
And one time, so he plays past us, and he was an asshole to the greens crew, always hitting up on us and shit. And, one time he does hit up on us. We're renovating a fairway bunker on a par five, and he hits it right towards us. Doesn't give a shit. Doesn't wait for us to move, but it's expected out of this guy. He gets up, plays. 15 minutes later, he comes flying through down from the par three, a ways away, flying through the fescue area that's naturally protected. Just drives right through it in the cart, right towards us. And I look at the couple rookies that are with us, and I'm like, okay, guys, just keep your mouth shut, and whatever he asks, just like I'll answer it. And so he pulls up, he goes, and he's frantic. He's like, boys, you guys find an Altoids can anywhere? I was like, an Altoids can? You lose your fucking weed, man? And he's just like, oh, no, pal, it's a little bit more expensive than weed. I was like, oh, no, man, I didn't find no Altoids can. So he drives off past us towards the tee deck. We're literally wrapping up that. He drives, like, as we're moving on to the greenside bunkers, he drives past us over to the par four tee deck and meets up with his buddies. And right at the par three tee deck, we find an Altoids can.
Do we get to find out what's in the Altoids? I wish I was better at editing, because I'd be like, oh, who was it? And then I'd just drop like a beep over top of it. And I would just like, that's about as far. I'd have to like search back to find this clip. But do we get to know what was in the can, or is that for like next? This is like OTS Golf After Dark or something like that, I feel.
Yeah, you can maybe put this on After Dark, but it was like, I don't know. You've seen Scarface.
Yeah, man.
It was a little homage to Al Pacino there, I think, in the Altoids can.
Yeah, it's been like unfortunately, like, so when you describe the type of hockey player that he probably was, there's been like a lot of connection between the two, right? So, and that's an unfortunate thing, like the I guess the enforcer past, or whatever you want to call it, like the NHL, kind of mentality past, right? So that's wild though, man. And like, I know the turf crew don't like you driving through that protected fescue either, right? So that's a tough spot, man. That's a tough spot for them to be. But any like clubs or anything that stick out to you, Casey? Like anything where you're just like, man, I can't believe somebody left this behind, or anything? We've actually had this. We had this company come on a little while back. They're called Club Catcher. So it's like the Arcos tabs that go on the end of the club. So they have those, and it's like you can set up like it's Bluetooth to your phone. So if you like walk away from your clubs, it'll ding them. So my friend Curtis, I don't know if he listens to the pod. Sometimes he does on the way into work and stuff like that. I got to get him a set of these, because they screw in kind of like the Arcos Caddy or whatever it is. And then they let you know if you drive away. So maybe limit, as they get bigger, might limit some club loss, but anything that you've kind of or come across that you're like, man, I got to find the owner for this one.
Yeah. So we so the first, like, just I like I said, I don't want to kind of give away the names of the clubs I've worked at, just because I do want to be able to tell these stories, and I want to kind of keep it discreet. But I'll give you the bare minimum of it. Like, I've worked at a private golf course, and I've worked at a public golf course. The private golf course, man, so many better stories, as you could probably assume.
Of course, man. Of course, yeah.
But yeah, so like at the private course, man, we used to host some pretty decent sized tournaments with some big names. And yeah, like one time I found this, like, I can't tell you what kind of Scotty Cameron it was, man, but it was as custom as I've ever seen anything, and it had the head cover on it and everything. I looked it up on eBay, and it was a 1 of 10 head cover. Yeah. Selling for like $3,500 on eBay. And yeah, like that's the one that sticks out in my mind, where I'm like, how the hell? And it's on the 17th green. Like, did you hole out on 18, bro?
Yeah.
Did you just hold out on 18? We're like, no putter needed, guys. Meet you at the bar. You got a $4,000, $5,000 putter sitting on 17 green, and he's the last group of the day, so I'm guessing he might have been leading. But I don't know, man. Yeah, so like I found that the next morning.
Yeah, maybe somebody dunked it or something like that, and they
I had to assume that. That's what we were
right?
joking around with.
Yeah,
because like Buddy obviously didn't need his putter, or he stuck it to 2 inches and banged her in with his wedge, maybe. But
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would
so I found that the next morning, and I was like, that thing's gold. And I didn't even. I went and told the pro shop about it, and I'll be honest, I didn't trust the kids that were working in the pro shop that morning, so I
yeah.
told them about it and said contact the organizers of that event and let them know I found this Scotty and gave them the pictures. And I went and held it in the turf barn because I was like, these little teenagers, man, they might
Or
bag
even,
that
man,
shit.
even just like if they got it sitting around on the desk or something like that, it's not even that. Like if they have it something sitting around and somebody comes in, they might like swipe it or whatever, right? Like I'm rolling like a 2012 Honey Dip, and I've sent it down to my friend Custom Clubs. You know Custom Clubs? You follow his page at all?
Man, so yeah, I do follow Custom
Yeah,
Clubs, and I've reached out to him, and I really want to get in contact with that guy.
yeah.
That guy's awesome, man. I love the work he does.
He's amazing. So tell him Max sent you. He did my well, I've got some of his divot tools and stuff. I can't reach them right now, but some of his like new tools and stuff. He sent me up a brush and stuff. I dropped a reel like last couple of weeks. It's man, his stuff's awesome. So check out Custom
Yeah.
Clubs. We've had him on the podcast before. So but yeah, like he redid my putter. It's a 2011 Delmar Honey Dip. So now it's like he essentially dropped in a bucket, did his thing where he sticks it to a piece of copper, opens his garage door. That's how he explains it to me, so it doesn't blow up. Does his like osmosis or whatever it is, his science, and yeah, so I got a one of a kind now. So it's essentially priceless to me, right? So
No,
if
for
I ever
sure.
lost something like that, I would be distraught, man. So hats off to you for yeah, golf gods are looking out for you, Casey, for getting that back to the owner.
Well,
That's
let's hope so, man. I
yeah.
still don't got that ace, so let's hope they're
Damn.
looking out for me, man. I set pins, I manicure that goddamn golf course, and they still haven't given me an ace, but they.
So one thing,
they come
yeah,
in droves.
one thing that we do have is within a couple days, we have one that's like a couple days after. We have two within a few days. We've spoken a couple hole-in-ones into existence here. So
Let's do it.
I think it's coming for you, man. I definitely do think it is.
Appreciate that.
Kevin Gordon, he's a PGA Tour Canada player. Zach Viminit's got one. He is PGA Tour LA. Lauren Zaretsky is one of the best young female golfers in Canada. She's at Texas A&M. She played in the CP Women's Open. She got an ace in her first LPGA Tour event round right after coming on the pod, man. So it's like I believe there is something there. We got a couple others too, man. So it's coming. If I've met anybody so far, man, you deserve it, because I'm pretty sure Zach had only a couple, but I'm pretty sure Gordo had a couple. I think he's got a few. So some of these guys are just so good, man. They just they just find it. But it's yeah, if you're kind of setting them, taking care of them, it's time. You deserve it. I had a hole out too this year, but it's just not the same, man. Like it's just
no, it's not. See, that's just it, man. Like I've got a hole out from over 200 yards.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah,
that's
Albatross. Terrible drive.
Oh,
terrible drive.
Yeah.
Terrible drive to like 100 yards off the tee, and just topped the shit out of it. And man, holed out for an eagle on a par 5 from like 207 yards out when I was, I think, 17.
Yeah.
That's like, are you kidding me? That's my biggest moment. But like, that's 2 fucking hole-in-ones, is it not?
Yeah.
That's gotta be. Like,
yeah.
I play 112-yard par 3s all the time, and I almost did twice that. Like.
Yeah, I got one when I was a kid.
I'm pretty confident.
I got one when I was young, and it's still that like gray area. I think I was like 11 or 12, and it was short. It was 110 or 20 yards or something. It's still it's a hole-in-one, man. But when I like the one out here at Port Hope, it's number 6. It faces the water, and it's like into the wind. It's a very beautiful hole, man. So Port Hope is only one of 6 on Lake Ontario. Like it's one of the most scenic courses in Ontario. It's so beautiful, and it's the best hole on the course. And it was like very, very lucky to get it. Very, very happy I did. But yeah, man, we love to speak them into existence, because getting a hole-in-one is like, yeah, it's like an experience that you just never have, man. And it would be, I don't know, you do all the most fascinating things on the course, and it's the most fascinating golf shot. So it's kind of got to happen for you. It's got to, man. It's got to. But holding
as rewarding as I think it may be for golfers that dedicate themselves to the game, man, for a guy that dedicates himself to the course, pretty rewarding to get that hole-in-one, man. I only know a handful of greenskeepers and superintendents that have gotten hole-in-ones, and it's pretty high up there, dude.
Yeah. Can I pivot here? Can I ask you, Casey, some of the things that like, you seem like a pretty easygoing, laid back guy, but like you get out on the course, you're doing all this hard work, man. You're like kind of making this thing beautiful. Anything you come across where you're just like, you know, it just kind of grinds your gears a little bit. It's just kind of, you can tell like there's obviously things like, you know, people taking chunks out of the green and stuff where you can tell people don't respect the course, but anything that really like kind of does it for you guys and it's hard to repair, it kind of takes a lot of time that people might not know if they're listening to the pod.
So yeah, when it comes to, I'm just gonna be fully transparent here. When it comes to turf and stuff, like yeah, we like to bitch and like I'm glad you said I'm laid back and easygoing because like a lot of turf guys that might listen to this are gonna be like, yeah, I know, fucking shut up, dude. But like grass grows back, dude.
Yeah.
Grass grows back unless you go out there with a cart and start doing donuts and shit and wrecking our fairways and shit. Divots, when it comes to divots, like if you replace it or if you don't, it's common courtesy to replace it. But if you don't, man, we've got processes in place already. 90% of the golf courses out there have processes in place to take care of those that type of damage. Ideally, you guys contribute and you fix or fill, either replace your divot or fill your divot if you got seed and sand mix provided. You do that, that's common courtesy, and you know what that's going to get you? That's going to get you a hole in one.
Yeah.
Down the line, right? So, but all in all, we can fix that. It's the guys that go out there and take fat chunks and aggressive, angry retaliation slashes at the turf, deep cutting it, where like we can't lay seed and sod, or like, yeah, we can't lay seed and sand down on it, or else it's just going to be a cavity in the ground. Greens, yeah, don't be hacking away at the greens.
Yeah.
But outside of turf, man, like there's not many things you can do in turf that really disrupt us too much. When you don't rake your bunker, we rake it probably the next day or the following day anyways. And if we only decide to rake, if your superintendent only wants to rake your bunkers twice a week and you go in it on one of the days that we didn't rake your bunkers and it's a fucking disaster, you can't blame us. You can blame your fellow member that didn't rake after himself the day before.
Yeah.
Like that's just what we have accounted for. So outside of that stuff, man, it's like walking out of the high side of the bunker. That pisses me off. Like
yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah.
You got a high lip on a green side bunker and the member walks in, plays a shot from the far side of the bunker and walks 17 feet through the bunker and jag legs their step up onto the green, shredding the shit out of our lip. Like that's a pain in the ass because I don't think that's probably the most difficult thing to reestablish is bunker edges and to maintain bunker edges, because constantly, in order to keep those sharp, like a lot of people by mistake will just keep edging them and they just keep getting bigger and bigger.
Right.
And although the members for a while are like, oh, it looks so good sharp like that.
Yeah.
4 years from now, you're coming back to us complaining because these bunkers are 10 times bigger than they were before.
Yeah.
Stop walking out the high side.
It's like unnatural erosion too. Yeah.
You want to talk about pet peeves though? It's leaving the bunker rakes in the bunkers, man.
Okay. All right.
That's my pet peeve.
I got a question to ask you. Like throughout the pandemic, I got buddies here. I don't want to call anybody out, but if they're listening, they definitely know who they are. Like, so nobody was raking the bunkers. Like the greens crew weren't. Not as many people were working, so that was kind of the idea. I guess bunkers kind of get left behind a little bit, and so everybody's picking their ball up out of the bunker. Like, what's the opinion on that? Was that a real thing? Was that like who started that?
Man, I was at the private course during this, so I'm kind of foreign to that.
Yeah.
We raked our bunkers religiously during COVID because we didn't provide rakes for the guys.
Well, and that was kind of the idea. So maybe it was at like we're at a private course too. So at the time, like where he was playing. So that was kind of the idea. There's no rakes, so we don't got to play out of the bunkers. And I was like,
yeah, but we did have that issue. Now that you mention it, man, we did have that issue with members. And I guess like my superintendent, he just said like, whatever. Like, you guys cheat if you want to cheat, but like we don't get to decide the rules.
Yeah. We got a 14 handicap who's a scratch this year because there's no bunker player or something like that over the course of the year, man. That's just shredding stroke. I can't even talk. Yeah. Just shedding strokes. I never understood it, man, because like that's kind of my game, right? Is like I'm like clean around the greens. Like I roll it really well. Like I got a good short game. So I was always like I don't know, man. I don't want to give up as many strokes as I normally do, or whatever it is. If we're not playing on the bunkers, that's kind of where I make up a little bit of ground in the money games, right? So it's kind of, I don't know. That was always a weird thing for me. I kind of felt, and you were in the area too, so I was always like, damn, that's a strange rule that we're not hitting out of the bunkers. But
Yeah, no, man. COVID. Honestly, man, I don't. Your handicap could. I don't care what you tell me your handicap is during the time of COVID. I don't believe it.
yeah,
Like, we'll
yeah,
go play golf now, and then your handicap matters because COVID. There was so many bogus rules.
there were some
Golf,
strange things going
although we
on
did
during that time,
right,
man.
like
Yeah,
although we depended on it so much, man. Like, and I'm so grateful for the fact that we were able to get out there and play. It was not golf that we were
no,
playing. We were
yeah,
catering to the vacationer at that point with a pool noodle in the cup, and
yeah. The pool
it
noodle
was nice
too.
to get out there and
Yeah,
swing the club around, man. But to imply any rules or anything, unless you're in a tournament, yeah, that's tough to do.
yeah. It was I don't know. We were playing a different game. It was kind of different at that time.
I'm grateful that we're back to where we are.
Casey, we ever see anybody dump a cart? Like, you always see
Oh
these
my
like
god, dude.
you always see these like people pulling or like their bag out of the water or something like that. People pulling a cart out of the water. It just gets like I always wonder how these things have happened. And I saw Carlo Koliakovo, who we've actually had on the pod before. So
Oh,
um
that's cool, man. He's one of my
yeah,
he's
Carlo's
one of my
great,
favorite
man.
hockey players.
Yeah, he's always kind of fishing the pond out at Rattlesnake and stuff like that. So he had some really cool stories. But he was telling me that somebody dumped a cart, like right around when he came on the pod. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Yeah. So luckily, I haven't seen anything too serious because there is, and I don't want to put too much light on it. Like, I don't want to make too many jokes about it because like there has been some pretty shitty situations
Right,
with it,
right.
yeah. But there's I've been lucky enough just to see the kind of funny ones. So the private course I worked at, yeah, guy kind of just went in sideways. He was looking out at his buddy, yelling at him, and just drifted the cart off to the right and buried it in. Pretty easy to pull it off, pull
Right.
it out, but guy was humiliated.
Of
Nice
course,
thing
man.
was that you get a decent tip out of that though, because you're going in the water to get his clubs out and shit for him, so he gives you
Nice.
a nice tip. The funny thing, so well, another cart situation. We'll go to the bags next. The other cart situation was at the course I'm at now. We had a guy, I guess, missed one of the bridges. We've got like 6 foot deep creeks, and he
Okay.
drove right off the bridge into this
Ooh.
shallow creek. So like it's 6 feet deep ditch, but like maybe 8 inches of water, and just nosedive the thing completely into the bottom of this 6 foot creek off the bridge. Um,
He do okay out of that one? Like he that's a bit of a
so
drop, man.
apparently he had some good chest. I guess in his chest hit the steering wheel pretty good, so
Yeah.
his chest was pretty sore. Um, the funniest shit though, man, is those fucking those remote control carts that
Yeah.
they got there, the remote control caddies that they got out
Yeah.
there. Those things are hilarious, man. A Barry or oh, there you go. Bleep that one out. At my first course, um, they rented them all out, right? So
Okay.
they were all ended up being on the same frequency if they got too close to each other. So one guy would be driving it from the par three, and the other guy would be driving it from the par five, vice versa. And this guy's uh, remote would take over the guy on the par five's remote. That's some of the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life when you see these things going straight for the greens, and then all of a sudden they turn around and start heading perfectly for each other's greens.
Yeah.
So like the guy on the par five now has control of the guy on the par three, and the guy on the par three now has control of the guy on the par five. But they're both trying to get to each other's greens, and the only thing in between their greens is a fucking pond.
It's
That's
like
the
the
greatest
golf
shit in
cart
the world.
apocalypse, man. Like
Dude, it is,
you're
and
just like,
there's
yeah.
nothing that they can do. And I've been out there on the Toro, sitting there looking at them, just like, there's
Uh
nothing I can do. There's nothing they can do.
yeah.
Those carts are just doomed. And that honestly happened a dozen times in my 4 years there, 5 years there. That happened a dozen times.
That's so
Just
bizarre,
carts
man.
going straight in like R2D2 committing suicide into these ponds, man.
It's funny, but like obviously it wouldn't be too funny if you got a couple $1,000 bag on there, or yeah, even more, man, when you get into all the gadgets
I
and
don't
stuff
know.
like
You
that.
be an underpaid. You be an underpaid greenskeeper, dude, and watch these rich guys come in and play every single goddamn day at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then
Yeah.
watch their bag go in the water. I think you're not going to be too upset.
Nah, it'd be pretty funny. It'd be pretty
Sorry.
funny. There's gonna be a couple things maybe left in there too if you want to go for a dip, right? So I got
Yeah,
a
you go
buddy
in
who's
there and
probably
fish
tossed
at
the
the
putter
bag.
too. So yeah.
Yeah, you go out there and fish at the bag, and you're like, yeah, you just drop the Scotty in the pond, and you come out with everything, 13 clubs, and you're like, that's all I got, sir. And then you go scuba diving after your shift and grab the asshole Scotty.
I like it, man. I like it. It's I don't know. They I didn't realize that they would be like possessed like that, but it'd be pretty fun to watch.
Oh,
It'd be
well,
yeah.
it's like when you buy your own, like when you go, there's brands that you can buy from Golf Town stuff. When you buy your own, you're a lot better off because you're on your own frequency, I
Yeah.
guess. We're renting them out. We're renting out 200 of these damn things,
Yeah.
all on the same remotes. And yeah, it was
Just
just
bound
too
software
it's a
issues
bad
are bound to
setup,
connect,
man.
man.
They don't do it anymore. But it was quite funny, man.
All right, we're in conversation with Casey from the Real Turf Crew. Casey, this one's great, man. This is like such a good insight into a world that I just never expected. I feel like you could even work in this environment, and I don't know. I feel like we got pretty in depth in there, but we got a couple Instagram questions if you don't mind. If you got a couple minutes,
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I figured this one might pop up. Favorite track you've ever played or visited?
Well, I've been quite lucky, man. So like I went and did a tour over there in Scotland in 2019, just before COVID shut us all down. Oof, man, that's a tough one. I played every course at St. Andrews except for the old course because I wasn't willing to do that sleepover.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard about that.
Yeah, a good
Sleeping
buddy
over
of
in
mine,
front of the clubhouse.
he was telling me a story about that. I've got a couple buddies who've done it, and they all seem to be going out like between like 3 and 6 a.m. So it's
Dude, that was a lot later than my buddies. So my buddies ended up playing it, but they were out there at like 8 o'clock at night.
yeah.
And I was like, that's too early, dude. And sure enough, like 5 people showed up around 10:30, 11 o'clock. And they're lucky because only 7 of them got out the next day.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
And the funny thing is, though, is they're sitting there freezing their ass off until 6:30 in the morning when the starter shows up. Starter shows up and goes, "You guys are off at 7:15."
Yeah.
So they have to haul ass to the hotel.
Yeah.
Anyways, back. So I didn't play the old course. Played Jubilee, Eden, the new
Yeah.
course. We went over and played Carnoustie and Kings Barnes.
Yep.
And then we played Crail Society. So Crail's beautiful golf course out there. I'm honestly gonna have to say Kings Barnes, man.
Okay. I was gonna
Kings
say like
Barnes, if you've
Carnoustie's
never-
got like one of the top like ranked par threes like in golf. I think it's
Dude,
either
you
number
don't
9
even
or
notice
12,
it when you
but
play it.
yeah.
You don't even notice it when you play it with that golf course, man. Like as much as it's so iconic, the just the land that you're on, you can feel, and that's not even just Carnoustie. Actually,
Yeah.
that's every golf course in Scotland. When you're sitting there with a golf club in your hand, man, it's powerful, dude.
Yeah.
You know that you're on some like royal land, playing the game that you love. It's
Yeah,
cool.
man. It's like, well, that's where the game started, right? That's where the most history is.
Exactly.
It's like I know one of the guys I work with, he's always telling me about how his great grandfather was in the war there, and that's where they did some of their training was right on the it might have been the first hole at the old course, and that's the only time the course has been shut down in, well, we're at 600 years or so, I think now, right? So it's pretty crazy, man. Crazy amount of history that's there. But we got, if you
Well,
could,
do you know this? Did you know this about the old course, man? Like when I was out there, we showed up on a Saturday night, and so yeah, when we woke up on the Sunday, I didn't know this until I got there. So the old course is shut down, and it's a public park on Sundays.
yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
Dude, it's the craziest, coolest shit I've ever seen in my life. There's people running around throwing frisbees to their dogs. and just having picnics out on the most iconic golf holes that you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
And then at night there's college kids just slamming bottles of vodka off Swilken Bridge.
Do they do anything to try and like limit people like getting on the greens or anything, or is it just kind of like
Dude,
everybody
no,
has an
it's
understanding and
dude, that
respect it?
is, and that's the cool thing about the landscape over there, and what you're dealing with from an agronomy point of view, from my point of view, is like it's literally like it was put on the planet by God or whoever you believe in to be a golf course, man.
Right.
Like you can walk on that green, you can do anything you want whenever you want on that. Like those are some of the most resilient and tough turf that you could ever step across, man. Like it's really cool. Like as much as they put a lot of work into maintaining it and making it as beautiful as it is, it's so tough. Like it's
Yeah.
these guys are driving across it, and yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
Well, and I guess
It's
being
pretty cool
like,
what they've
you
got
know,
over there.
being into it's like 600th year, maybe even more by now, but
Like yeah,
yeah, it might be over 700 years old, but it's just
yeah,
been
I think
beat
it's
up,
close.
right? So it's seen it all. Like it's seen it all by now, right? So there's nothing that would surprise that ground, right? And it's, you know, there is a science that goes into it, like you know, kind of like you're doing, but it's kind of just it's kind of seen it. It's been able to you know, take whatever comes its way and grow back and be resilient, like you said, right?
It is,
Uh,
yeah.
if you could work at
It faces the winds off that fucking sea all the
yeah,
time, right? So
it well, we see it in like the 150th Open was there, right? So it's like it's wild looking at some of that stuff, man. They're hitting like 450-yard drives on one hole, and then they're hitting 220-yard drives on the next, right? Depending on which way they're going. But I didn't grab any names here, so sorry for anybody who sent me the questions. I did not
but
grab their
back to
names.
that guy, Kings Barnes. If
Yeah.
you look up a course, man, Kings Barnes. If you're ever in Scotland, hit that up. If you do want a course in Ontario, because I'm assuming some of your followers are from
Yeah.
Ontario, let me.
It's a pretty
Oh
deep
man, I
list
have a
here.
tough time not saying Mad River, dude,
Okay.
and I've got like a hard, yeah. I've shot really well there, so I want to say Mad River. I know it might be difficult for you to get out there. It's a private course, I'm pretty sure, but
Now
that's
I've
one
got
hell of a golf course.
I haven't played it, but I got a good friend Anthony Spagnoli who's on the Score Golf panel, and he's played out there, and he posted some really beautiful photos of it, man.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good looking track. If you could work at any course, what would it be? Any course. So I'm gonna like mix this in
I would
maybe.
have to go, and I would have to do this, and I'd be very disappointed if I don't. And I hope Scotty, I hope you're watching this, man. I hope you do stumble across this. I want to go to TPC Scottsdale, man.
Okay,
That
yeah,
is like Scott Heaves, that guy Hebert. He's a amazing talent. He's young and he's fired up, just like I am. And so like I'm in a cool climate, like cool season kind of turf
yeah.
industry. Totally different style of like there's a different world down there. And yeah, if I could work at any course, man, it'd be TPC Scottsdale. And that's me shunning out the obvious of Augusta because
Yeah.
like really, I'm going to work at Augusta if I was given that opportunity. But TPC Scottsdale, I think that's a realistic one for me. And
I figured
yeah, I
this one
couldn't
might.
imagine the things I've learned.
This question might kind of go with it, but favorite event that you could plan. So if you were gonna plan like a PGA Tour event or whatever it may be, feel like it might be at Scottsdale as well. Maybe the Masters or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe because I'm young and I'm fired up, man. I love the energy that like you guys, all you golfers, and everybody brings to it. I feel like the Greens crew gets a lot of attention at that event,
Yeah.
and like it's fitting that it's this weekend.
Yeah.
Um, it's yeah, it's a hell of an event, man, and I think that's kind of what I want to bring to my brand is that atmosphere of golf. It's not the traditional like we don't have greenskeepers out here that are well, we do, but I want to kind of bring in the
Yeah.
greenskeepers that are more laid back. We like to play golf too, guys. We're doing this for ourselves just as much as we're doing it for you. We take pride in it, but we like to have fun. And so yeah, I would say TPC Scottsdale. Give me the Waste Management Phoenix Open.
That's pretty awesome, man. It's hard to beat, and I feel like you could squeegee down a couple of cans of beer, and yeah, I feel like you wouldn't mind. You're pretty laid back. It wouldn't hurt you too bad. I know, like,
I think I'd have a lot of fun. Hopefully, I'm not squeegeeing the beers off the greens. We'll get somebody else to do that. But,
man, I know
yeah,
when Sam Ryder made that.
Maybe I'll be the one tossing a few beers.
Exactly, man. Like last year when Sam Ryder made that hole in one, and people were just firing beer cans, man. There was so much drama. Like I felt like I got so many DMs and people being like, "What do you think about this?" And like, I never thought of it from like the turf.
Dude, there's so many nutrients in that goddamn beer that benefit that grass.
Yeah, there we go. There's wheat, and barley, and all that stuff built in.
I'm on side with that, man. Yeah, throw beers, man.
Yeah, enjoy the event. There's not too many like that on the PGA Tour that you can. So
no, there's not. You got to set it apart. I don't want to say they pay people, and our volunteers are there to clean up after that kind of mess. I love the spectacle, man. We love the attention of it, and honestly, I feel like the turf industry got kind of like praised.
They did, man. They did. Yeah.
After that, because like we were out there cleaning up. They were out there cleaning up. I don't want to say that was turf guys. That could have just been regular volunteers, but they were out there cleaning that up and making it playable within minutes. Yeah. So I think that's awesome, and I say hoorah, keep it up.
Nah, man, I like how you say we, Casey. It kind of I don't know, makes it feel like like you say, like a community, like a group, man. And you know, I really appreciate like you taking the time. We've been in here over an hour. This has been a lot of fun, man. It's like the Real Turf Crew over on Instagram. If you haven't checked them out, you probably have. If you haven't checked them out, go over. Man, it's the most satisfying page in golf. Like if you're a golfer, it's literally as satisfying as it can get. So we're gonna be popping this up. If you're listening to this now, it might be the second round of the Waste Management Open. So go over, check it out. Show those guys some love, because they do a lot of good work there, man. And I like how they do, like, I follow their page, the Waste Management Phoenix Open, like their Instagram, and they do like post quite a bit of the guys cutting pins and stuff like that. It's cool, man. I really like to see it, and it's like a spectacle out there, and it's really they're stars, man. I don't know if that's the guy you're talking about. His name is Scott, but it's cool to see, man. It's a lot of fun to see.
Yeah. So that is what I'm talking about, Scott, and then he's got his pup out there. His pup's pretty famous out there, Rye. So Rye of Scottsdale on Instagram. If you guys are listening, make sure you give them a follow too, because they're pretty awesome. I love seeing the pictures that they post.
Yeah, there was one at Pebble last week too, and I tagged Jeff, who's the super out at Port Hope there, because I got the golf around I played around a golf with him and his pup Bauer. It was pretty cool, man. It was really cool.
Yeah,
it's like
so this weekend at Scottsdale though, man. I gotta tell you, and if I can give a quick shout out right now to whoever's listening, there's a lot of big talent from the turf side of things. There's a lot of big talent there, just because it's such a big event. So shout out to you guys. Thanks for all the work you guys are putting in. Love it. Excited to see the product that you guys produce.
Well, thank you, Casey. This was great, man. We got to do this again, because we might have to plan like a deeper after dark, because I know there's things hiding in there that we got to talk about. But it was cool, man. It was really cool to get kind of a perspective on the game we all love. If you're listening to this pod, especially if you're following us 60 minutes or into this one, 70 minutes into this one, you're enjoying it, like, and you enjoy the game just as much as we do. Like, I know I got a buddy, Brian Connor, who's probably listening to this when he listens to all our pods. He always texts me about like different parts of them, and he's kind of a true golf passion. Like, he loves the game like we do, and it's kind of cool to see the perspective of what goes into kind of putting it together for us, man. So, for me and all the other golfers listening to the pod, Casey, man, appreciate what you, your team, all the other guys are doing, all the hardworking men and ladies that are out there kind of getting up early to put together the course for us, man. It's amazing. And they do try to keep it easy or take it easy on us. They're not all evil. I like it.
Yeah, we're players too, guys. Like, we're not going to set it up for disaster if we're planning on playing at 2:30, right? But don't get me wrong, there's a few days. And that's one thing I did actually want to mention. I know we're wrapping things up here, but when you were mentioning, like, do you guys ever like set terrible pins? And you were talking kind of about the greenskeeper revenge thing. So one trick that I learned as a pin setter was if I was ever getting caught by golfers. So that's another pet peeve of mine, is if you tee off earlier than the first tee time.
Okay, all right.
Because we're trying to get that house dressed up for you, and if you're coming in early, then that's kind of like, what the hell's the point? So yeah, one thing that I kind of learned early was you set a couple difficult pins, you slow that golfer down pretty quickly.
That's true.
So if you guys want easier pins, maybe keep it off at your designated tee time. All right.
I like it. I like it. Casey, this was great, man. The Real Turf Crew over on Instagram. It's in the bio. If you want to go follow the page, you got to go follow the page. You must go follow the page. Link is down in the description. This was great, man. We got to do it again.
I appreciate it, man. Cheers, man.
He's out in my ball in the course where I tee up. I lose the ball and I re-up. I miss a fairway, I probably end up in the ocean or maybe the beach. And I'm on a par 5 and I'm finna go reach it. Second was blind, I ain't see it. Feel like it might be an albatross, worst case scenario.